Typically, a lunar eclipse arrives when the Earth stands between the moon and the sun. This cuts off the light of the sun from the moon. During these events, the moon may become red, orange, brown, or disappear entirely. Astrologically, the lunar eclipse is a very intense lunation that takes place on a full moon. It is 3 times more potent than a regular full moon and often brings major endings, turning points, revelations, and culminations. Eclipses signify significant periods of change and transformation. These shifts do not take place all at once, though. They may start or continue on an eclipse, but their work continues throughout the period when the eclipses are occurring. Lunar eclipse reveals energies that help us complete a journey or shift our course in some way. Lunar eclipses bring fated endings, breakdowns, or breakthroughs. Lunar eclipses are also much more emotionally charged compared to a solar eclipse, as they are more feminine in nature and affect the emotional body to a greater degree. A lunar eclipse is an opportunity to create significant change in your life. This change may come about abruptly, as lunar eclipses tend to bring information to you from out of the blue. You may find yourself feeling surprised or even caught off guard at some of the things you learn about others or yourself over the lunar eclipse. Not all of this information is going to be negative. Some of it is positive and may even bring you inspiration along with encouragement to shift your life. Of course, some of the information you experience will initially feel negative and shocking, but after some consideration, it will bring positive and much needed changes in your life. You must be willing to take time to process any information coming your way and hold space for it. Lunar eclipses, like full moons, are revealing. They reveal the truth in an often dramatic way and let you learn things that change your life course. It's important to accept what is revealed on a lunar eclipse. You cannot fight this knowledge. You can only take it in and ask yourself, what is the highest manifestation that you can create with this energy? Even if you are brought unwanted news or unexpected events, know that these are the universe's way of giving you a life detour that will ultimately be the best course of action for your evolution. Open yourself to an information available on an eclipse and trust that it is landing in your life at the exact moment you need it. It is also important to understand that a lunar eclipse occurs to move you forward. It is an energetic push from the cosmos to take out any stagnant energies and old patterns. Sometimes this forward motion can feel disruptive to your nervous system, and you may even resist it initially. There is no moving backwards on a lunar eclipse. There is only a path forward. If you attempt to cling to the energies that no longer serve your evolution, you will only be met with frustration and misalignment. If the lunar eclipse reveals something in your life that needs to be released, it's best to find the least dramatic way to move on. The lunar eclipse and the month that follows it are an opportunity to detach from energies, emotions, and even people who do not serve your evolution. These changes can feel scary and uncomfortable, but once you cross the bridge to another way of being, you will feel as if you have broken through a wall built between you and your highest visions. Eclipses are the time to break through the barriers in whatever form they may take that prevent you from reaching your potential. The emotional nature of a lunar eclipse often can cause an emotional breakdown as you break through these energies. Hold space for yourself and give yourself time to process the information that is being revealed on the eclipse. Do not rush into any decisions at this time, but rather let the energy settle and then make whatever moves are needed to propel you forward. Open yourself up to the information and energy available to you and know that the universe is always here to support you and your journey. Seek to find peace and energetic calmness because, like all eclipses, it can bring some intense energy and emotions. Let your heart heal, and if a path speaks to you, then follow it. Not all transformation needs to be dramatic and full of complicated emotions. This eclipse is your chance to transform and shift old patterns into new ones that allow you to heal. It is your chance to simply let go. Not because some significant event has occurred, or if someone is forcing you, or you feel that you have no choice, but it is an opportunity to release these energies that no longer serve you without struggle or effort. Let go the way a petal drops from a flower because it's time. Feel the simplicity of this eclipse and let it shift your life away from chaos into the harmony as you come home to yourself. During a lunar eclipse in Vishakha Nakshatra, the transformative energy of this nakshatra is amplified. It is a time when our deepest fears and desires are brought to the surface, offering us the opportunity to confront and overcome them. A lunar eclipse in Vishakha Nakshatra is believed to have strong spiritual component. It is said to be a time when the veil between physical and spiritual realms is lifted, allowing us to access higher states of consciousness. This can lead to profound insights and revelations that can help us to better understand our place in the universe and our connection to the divine. Vishakha Nakshatra is known for its exponential ability to make sacrifices and endure any amount of penance to achieve its goals. If you can persevere through the challenges, you will come out stronger and better on the other side. This nakshatra is governed by two deities, Indra and Agni. Indra brings the power, courage and fortitude to nakshatra, while Agni provides the wisdom and truth necessary to use that power in the right way. However, during the eclipse, our decision-making abilities and confidence may be diminished, so it's wise to take a break from worldly activities and go inwards. Vishakha is also symbolized by a forked branch, giving diversion or a new direction, with more options and newer opportunities delving into a different path. Vishakha is a star of purpose and represents immense energy, power, passion, and teamwork. And this lunar eclipse will be starting point of all the modifications that we are expecting in these themes. Being Jupiter's star, there will always be wisdom and understanding to handle any difficult circumstances. There may not be any immediate results in the physical form, but long-term gains and some solid results can happen before the nodes change their sign in November. Though this nakshatra is present in the sign of Libra, where the planet of love Venus feels most comfortable, yet its ruling deity is Jupiter, so it shows this dichotomy in terms of what aspirations we can have when it comes to being in a relationship and what is the actual reality of the relationship that we achieve. As Jupiter is already present in the self-enterprising sign of Aries, so it becomes further difficult to hold on to the wisdom to make relationships that are suffering to work constructively. You will be driven to chase your own goals and focus on achieving success, diverse and expansive knowledge as represented by Guru Chandal Yoga that takes place in Aries. The amalgamation of the full moon energies and the lunar eclipse energies hence bring forth a loss of the sense of divine selfless devotion in relationships and love, but rather shifts the focus to letting go of relationships and equations that are blocking our learning and success. When we also compare other planetary nakshatra energies, we further understand why it is that this is a perfect synchronicity to let go of toxic relationships. As we discussed that this Vishakha Nakshatra is wherein the moon is an eclipse currently and its lord being Jupiter, which is currently in Ashwini Nakshatra ruled by Ketu. And this shows us that right now liberation and healing can only be achieved by decreasing our entanglements. Then further, Venus being present in the nakshatra of Ardra goes to show that we can be very self-fulfilling in our pursuit of a relationship right now, because the ruling planet of this nakshatra, Rahu, is already conjunct with Jupiter in Ashwini Nakshatra in the search of self-actualization and knowledge. Furthermore, Sun will be in the nakshatra of Kritika that has its symbol itself of a knife or blade to cut through any equations that do not serve your soul or growth. And lastly, Mars being present in the nakshatra of Pusha, but its debilitated state cannot gain the wisdom if its deity Jupiter, hence, makes decisions that are counterproductive to its themes of nourishment. So all in all, these planetary energies right now are more conducive to work on our relationship with self rather than our relationship with others. So we see that the lunar eclipse is happening in your 7th house of romantic and business relationships. So this gives us a clear indication that, there is some sort of breaking or some sort of reform or breakthroughs regarding your relationships which are going to come forth. And this is going to be like a source of conflict and a source of emotional distress right now, because even your Mars is going to be impacting the lunar eclipse from its 4th aspect. So there is going to be this sort of emotional letting go of certain people in your life that you kind of depended on for emotional stability. So that can be the sort of relation that can be romantic in nature as well. So that can be a cause of a little bit of rift that can also create emotional tension within your relationships. So a lot of your month of May is going to be focused on a lot of equations that you hold with other people. Keep focused on growing yourself and learning more and basically upskilling yourself. The more you will be able to achieve higher things, but you need to be focused as to how to maintain balance of your emotional health right now and mental health, as well as stay focused on what kind of relationships are not serving you and kind of break those down and move forward into a newer aspect of life wherein the focus right now should be probably on bettering yourself and being able to provide better resources for yourself. Excel in other regions of your life when you feel like the relationships you have in your life are not productive or are not rewarding to you at this point. Mars is making a direct correlation with your 6th house through its 4th aspect, where the lunar eclipse will be happening. And this shows us that, the kind of relation that you had with your colleagues might be going through some sort of changes right now. And that can create this kind of insecurity within you, which can have an outlet through, like an anger outburst that you need to be careful of to not let your emotional turmoil basically get the better of you. As well as Mars making that 8th aspect on your 10th house where Saturn is currently transiting further shows that, there can be this effect of losing all fear when it comes to dealing with your superiors. And that kind of backfiring, just how you deal with anger when it comes to the realms of your work, especially because both the lunar eclipse and the Saturn transiting through your 10th house is going to be impacted by this emotional anger outburst kind of an energy that is presenting itself from Mars in the 3rd. How much of emotional energy would you feel that you have in order to meet these kind of goals or the kind of dreams that you want to achieve right now? But, steer clear of that and focus on being able to build your identity, your personality, your money-making ability, because that's a very conducive energy for you to be focusing on. You need to balance the energies, because what happens here is that there is some sort of, correlation that happens within Mars and your 5th and 9th house, wherein we see that in your 5th house in the sign of Libra, there is a lunar eclipse which is going to happen. And this shows that, there is certain sort of romantic relationships that you can have a breakdown of during this lunar eclipse. So your ideals, how you basically express your emotions could come in conflict with your romantic partner. And this could create a sort of imbalance wherein the best idea at that point would be to, just stop that equation and move forward towards, focusing more on yourself and your own self efforts and things like that. So, and the same thing happens when Mars is also aspecting your ninth house and Saturn. So it shows the kind of values that you are imbibing now, the kind of changes that are happening in your religious or spiritual or philosophical values could be at odds with each other. So how do you move forward with a kind of reconciliation or between these two values, sets of values, or how do you basically go forward with choosing one of them? Don't let yourself go into a state of emotional, dejection wherein losing certain people or, let's say a romantic relationship or some friends right now makes you so dejected that you cannot be able to even perform within your educational pursuits. A lot of your energy right now speaks a lot about how to come to terms with who you are in absence of certain people in your life, and how you basically work upon creating a better monetary source of, money for yourself, how the intake and income will basically be more stabilized and you have better gains through it. You could actually suddenly start to feel more mental blockages, basically, where you will not feel as peaceful or as self-assured as you could have been generally. And this can even translate into, your general well-being, how your health will be during this time period. Be quite cautious of how your thoughts are going to be leading to your physical well-being and not well-being as well. So really focus on how you can work on your health and basically gain that sort of benefits regarding a solid regulation of your emotional state as well. Now, what happens here is from the first house, Mars aspects your fourth house, where a lunar eclipse will be happening. So this again shows this sort of difficult energy wherein probably some sort of identity crisis when it comes to how you deal with your home equations, how you deal with your family equations within the home. Probably mostly with your mother is going to come to forefront, and there could be some sort of really catalytic breakdowns of expectations, or just like the emotional dependence on your family or mother especially, that can actually have a breakdown, and this can severely impact your mental health. So this is the sort of aspect that this is showing. And also how you basically are able to get more peace or get more equilibrium at home is going to be affected. So it can probably be that you are kind of, you can be tempted to deal with certain equations or certain difficulties right now by indulging in substances, of the addictive qualities. So just be careful of trying to be balanced, trying to regulate your emotions at this point, because it can get a little difficult for you, especially. There can be some sort of lingering, something very latent inside you which feels unsatisfied emotionally. So this kind of this kind of dispute, or this kind of back and forth regarding how to find peace, content with where you are in your life, can be a little difficult or challenging at this point. And this can, this kind of existential crisis sort of an equation, somewhere down the line you're not just content or happy emotionally in your life at this point, despite all these things happening for you. So that is something that you should probably dig deeper into and try to understand, what is the reason as to why I am not content or peaceful at what stage I am at this point. And just try to not really belittle yourself for wanting to take a step back and just rest a little bit, recharge, and try to come back to all the things that you need to do with a much more clearer perspective, much more settled perspective when it comes to your emotional state and mental frame of mind. What also happens here is that Mars is going to be aspecting your third house, and where we will see that the lunar eclipse will be happening in the sign of Libra. So this clearly shows the fact that this emotional distress or unsatisfaction can be caused because of the fact that you have certain relationships in your life right now which are not going the way you want them to. The kind of communication you have with them, or the kind of mental connection that you are able to create with that person, is not how you would want it to be. You don't find it rewarding or loving, basically, and which is why this kind of emotional turmoil is taking place at this point. This also shows the fact that despite you wanting to kind of equalize your efforts and opportunities and the kind of outcomes that come through these things, it will not really materialize how you wanted to. So that can also deject you from taking proactive steps into doing what you really aspire to do, or where you want to go or achieve what you want to achieve in life. So this phase can be a little challenging for you right now. And on top of that, also Mars is going to be from the 12th house. It's going to aspect Saturn, which is in your 7th house, and 7th house is all about your romantic partnerships. So it further shows that this kind of you really want to kind of eliminate a sort of fear that is inherently somewhere creeping into your psyche regarding your romantic relationships. But there is this just latent sort of dissatisfaction wherein you kind of know that this is not the right thing for me. So I would say, rather than holding on to something that is not bringing you joy, it's much more important to actually be able to give it some room to breathe, understand where you are lacking. When it comes to an equation in a romantic situation, why is it from your end that things are not working out, right? To maybe evaluate that and try to come at the problem from that perspective. But relationships can be a stickier point during this month, so just kind of make your peace with it to a certain extent, I would definitely say, and work more on your mental health. And you could actually get the sort of feeling wherein you don't feel necessarily great about your interactions, or the kind of emotional connections you have with the people around you, which can consider, like, let's say, like your friends or your network circle in general. And this kind of dissatisfaction can kind of come out in a way, even like a passive aggressive sort of a communicational pattern, or let's say basically aggressive undertones when communicating with certain people. So it can be a little challenging for you right now to basically express yourself. It can be a little challenging for people to understand you right now. Your emotions can be a little haywire, it can be a little up and down. So expressing your dissatisfaction with certain things and taking it out on people around you. So that is something that you need to be careful of. You should not veer into a kind of behavior or demeanor wherein it becomes insufferable for people to be around you. So that sort of equation can present itself here, unfortunately. We see that there's a lunar eclipse that happens in your 2nd house, and the Mars present in the 11th house is also aspecting it. So what we can see is the fact that there are certain traditional values around money that have been inculcated to you by your family, and these are certain kind of values that probably do not resonate with you anymore. So you want to kind of break free of this. Can be a little challenging time to basically understand or comprehend how you really want to approach money, how you really want to be investing your money, save your money. So that can be a little difficult for you right now. And also on the fact that your emotional turmoil can even breach into your equations with your family. So you could have fallouts with your family members, and the kind of back and forth that happens verbally can become a little too scalding, so you need to be a little aware of the kind of things that come out of your mouth at this point, especially. So just be a little careful of your speech, especially during this time, with the people around you, be it your family, friends, or whoever, right? Don't unnecessarily take things out on the people who necessarily would not have caused it. Focus on how basically you attain or attach a sense of self in the kind of relationships that you keep in life. You are the sort of sign that depends a lot on the kind of value you create for yourself as a part of a collective. And by a collective, I mean, let's say, a part of a partnership, like a me and my person sort of a thing, or let's say a business partnership, or things like that. You are not a sort of person who works the best alone, right? It can be a little too indecisive for you to work completely by yourself, but this energy is basically focusing the kind of effect that you need to create in order to function the best by yourself. You need to really, really focus on how is it that your relationships that you have created or cultivated in your life are enriching you. Are they benefiting you or not? Are you learning something from them or not? Or is it just you basically giving into your people pleasing tendencies, being more self contemplative regarding your identity, how you relate to certain things, how you're able to get a sense of self. Look for being more freedom oriented and more individualistic about what you really want to attain in life through the love you give or receive from people. Be more focused on you rather than be focusing on giving other people what they lack. Focus on yourself, right? And you could even want to learn certain things about yourself, and that can go into a deeper exploration of your religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs as well. The major catalytic situations that will be happening during this month is the lunar eclipse that will be happening in your first house. So this is certainly a time where you really need to focus on letting go of people who are not serving you in a positive way. Let go of romantic equations or business equations that are not in your benefit, because they are holding you back from achieving things that you could have. So do not let other people and their opinions or their things set you back from what you really want and you could achieve, right? So focus on letting go, cutting off ties with certain people who are not benefiting you. And that is extremely important for you to undertake, because that only then you can let go, of those shackles or the weight that you have, and basically ascend onto what you can really achieve, flourish, right? Work, on yourself and attain a better perspective, a love for yourself. That's extremely important for you this month, Libra. I don't think there's anything that is more important than you really, really reconsidering or reevaluating the kind of relationships you have with other people and even yourself. A source of conflict or distress in general can be your equations when it comes to romance or business, because Sun, which is the source of, let's say, our sense of self, our confidence, and things like that, gets debilitated in the seventh house. And we also will understand further that there is this lunar eclipse which is happening in the sign of Libra, which is all about romantic partnerships. So both of these things coming together is not great for your romantic relationships or even your business partnerships. So certainly there is this sort of energy which is cultivating, wherein you need to really assess and evaluate who are you trusting right now, who is on your side right now, and what kind of equations, especially in the romantic and business kind, are you cultivating. Is it helping you out? Is it beneficial to you or not? So these kind of equations can certainly come up, wherein you will have to evaluate how these things are showing up in your life at this point, and what needs to be eradicated in terms of these equations which can be toxic, so that you can let go of these things and have a greater equivalent footing regarding how you really want to go ahead, from this stage. Try to look inwardly into what are the things that are not helping you out, involving sense of a religious, spiritual, or philosophical identity or belief systems. So that can be something that you can actually explore during this time, which can give you a sort of I would say a sort of help with your emotional turmoil at this point, the sort of mental health issues and things like that. So that can be a source of respite to you definitely during this time. So explore those themes and be able to kind of navigate how you are dealing with the kind of upheaval that can be created in your life at this point. Now, also, Mars from the ninth house is going to be aspecting your 12th house. So there can possibly be some sort of equation wherein, the more you learn about these kind of themes, the more you feel disconnected from your partnerships. So you will probably isolate yourself a little more and try to, work out on things by yourself, or probably even, just be more isolated in terms of not being able to trust people more so. So that can be a sort of incidence that might take place. But all in all, I would definitely say this is a time for you to go internally, explore what is really happening outside of you that you probably do not have much control over at this point. So try to work more on the internal landscape than the external or outwardly manifestations at this point. We see that because fifth house is the house of romantic relationships, and also your Venus will be transiting through the seventh house of your romantic partnerships and business partnerships as well. So both of these things can be quite conducive when it comes to the energy of probably finding like a new romantic connection, but it is not the best energy, I would say, when it comes to being able to cultivate or being able to build upon that initial connection or the initial chemistry that people can have when they kind of connect romantically to a person. Because we see that there is this lunar eclipse which is happening in the sign of Libra, and it is going to be happening in your 11th house. So there is this probability that you wouldn't be able to cultivate those relationships as well, because the sign where Venus gets exalted or Venus does the best is where this lunar eclipse will be happening. So there is some sort of backlog of the kind of peace or the kind of equality or the kind of just satisfaction when it comes to romantic relationships that you would be able to acquire in case you get into these kind of relationships. But all in all, it's a good time to explore your romantic connections. Probably, like, if you are not in a romantic equation, it's a good time to probably, let's say, date around and figure out what you like, what you do not like, and things like that. So that can be something that you can actually have a positive experience towards. Mars being present in the 8th house but in the sign of Cancer can prove to be a little difficult when it comes to let's say your the kind of emotional clarity you will have regarding things. And there can be instances wherein you will feel the need to hide your emotions from others because of the kind of aggression or the kind of passive aggressive thought processes that come into expressing those complicated emotions. So that can be something that can come about, which can be like a sore spot during this month for you. So kind of pay attention to this thing. And also this plays into the fact that Mars will be aspecting the lunar eclipse happening in your 11th house. So probably how you look at money, how you look at gaining from others' resources, how you look at being able to expand on your monetary benefits and things like that is something that you need to really consider. And also the fact that what kind of friendships or what kind of network circle you have around you, because this lunar eclipse has a very strong energy of letting go of the sort of people who are not conducive to your growth. So there can be the possibility wherein certain people around you are blocking the amount or the basically the ability of you to gain more money. Let go of certain people or their ideas wherein that is blocking you from being able to achieve more financial success and gains. So Mars will be transiting through your 7th house. So this definitely shows that your romantic relationships somehow, probably though you can be focused on them, but the sort of satisfaction, especially emotionally, that you receive from these equations might not be ideal. So there could be a lot of contemplation, or there could be a lot of confusion regarding that part as well, wherein your energy though is getting spent on trying to equalize or basically make your equations more peaceful in your relationships, yet it is not materializing the way you want it to. So that can cause you some sort of mental distress at this point. And this further gets corroborated because there's this lunar eclipse which is happening in Libra. So Mars is also looking at it from its 4th aspect. So definitely there is this energy, especially now, because it's happening in the 10th house, which is in relation to how you are perceived at work and what sort of relationships you have with your superiors. So that can be something which can also be called into question at this point, wherein you don't feel satisfied within the kind of equations you have at work. And that can cause you to have this general dejection or depression regarding, what am I doing? If I do not have a good enough relationship with my family members, I do not feel satisfied or fulfilled with the kind of work equations that I have. So a person can get quite distressed, and that could also basically manifest into you feeling dissatisfied with other equations in your life as well, let's say the romantic equations or whatever else. So it can just like start to snowball into this sort of effect wherein you start to contemplate or recalibrate everything, and basically look at everything through that same lens of dissatisfaction. So try to not have that sort of a snowball effect of wanting to get rid of everything because nothing seems to be going your way, but strategically kind of pull back the layers and try to understand, where are you going wrong yourself in terms of the equations that are not working for you. And if you have tried everything in order to mend them, then what else can happen if you really want to hold on to that equation. And if not, then how can you move ahead and basically exterminate yourself from that obligation or that effort that needs to be kept in order to maintain those equations. So that is, I think, the central theme for you right now, to focus on what kind of relationships you have with your family, with your colleagues, and even your romantic relationships, and how you're able to balance all of it together. Mars will be aspecting the lunar eclipse, which will be happening in your 9th house. So definitely the sort of relationship you have with your father can be something that you should look into, because the sort of values that you attain from your father, be it your religious, be it your spiritual or your philosophical beliefs, can be something that can be a little difficult right now to come to terms with. There can be some sort of conflict regarding that. So have a better senses of how you want to be basically embracing the similar beliefs that your father has probably, or how you want to reconcile your relationship with him, but still probably hold on to whatever belief systems that you have. That can be something that you will have to look into. And this can also probably also show the fact that the kind of equations you have with people who you keep around you, let's say if you are studying or something of that sort, is something that you should be aware of. Do not keep people around you who are not conducive to your growth at this point or your learning process. So let go of people who are not in for working hard and achieving their goals at this point, because they can take off the steam from your engine. So focus on having those kind of people around you who can be conducive to your growth and who are in the same mindset as you of working hard to achieve whatever they have set their eyes on. Mars is going to be transiting your 5th house, and this is going to be happening in the sign of Cancer. So where challenges can come about in this transit is because Mars is going to be transiting through its sign of debilitation. So how you basically relate in your romantic relationships to your partners, what sort of emotional connect you have with them can suffer at this point. So you can feel a sort of dejection when it comes to being able to relate to your partner romantically, and this can create emotional distress. So that can also be a possibility that you need to be wary of. This is further corroborated by the fact that lunar eclipse will be taking place in your 8th house in the sign of Libra, which does not bode really great news for your relationships. So this can also show the fact that there can be sudden transformations within your romantic relationships, which can probably be for the worse. It is not necessary that those transformations can actually help you to further your romantic journey with the person. So that is something that you will have to come to terms with, and this can create substantial amount of mental distress to you at this point. But definitely the kind of energy that you have around you with your family can definitely help you tide through these things at this point. So lean onto your family for their support as well. Are the significations that you can expect to happen during this month. If you like this video and you resonate with the kind of predictions that are shared, then do not forget to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you soon with the next video. Until then, take care, you all.